You know what that sound was? That was the sweet sound of connecting to the World Wide Web. 1 second.
You've got mail.
I got to go check my electronic mail.
Hey, I want to know where all the ashtrays went. They used to be everywhere. I could smoke on a plane. What happened there?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go talk about it. We'll drive my truck. Seatbelts are optional. Grab a couple road sodas. Let's go.
A little lap belt?
Yeah. Stick around. We're going to talk about more of these and how quickly things have changed in such a short period of time here on the Welcome Distraction with the Kemp Brothers.
This is the Welcome Distraction Podcast with the Kemp Brothers. Their immature stories, thoughts, and opinions are their own and should be taken with the same level of seriousness as a drunk uncle's late-night conspiracy theory. They are not responsible for any brain cells lost, friendships ruined, or questionable life choices made under their influence. Now buckle up, buttercups.
Thanks for joining us. So back in the day, when you wanted to get on the internet, it wasn't just to pick up your phone or you had the internet in the palm of your hand. You had to connect to a device. You had this old 200-pound computer, and you had to have it connected to the phone line, and you have to go on. And usually most people had AOL, right?
America Online for you
America
young
Online.
peeps.
Yep. We'll have to put a little emblem up there, whatever, so you can see what it used to look like. I think there's still people that have an AOL email account. You know, that
And you used to get all the discs in the mail, and you only got so many hours per month.
Yeah, you'd be like, I got this free. They sent it to me.
And so you couldn't just get right on. It was a process. It took a couple minutes. You'd have to click connect and everything, and you'd have to make sure that there was nobody on the phone because it needed to use an
Tied up
active
the
phone.
one phone line.
Right.
Yep.
You're like, I'm trying to use
And you
that.
click the button, and all of a sudden you get that nostalgic sound that.
I'm trying to use.
And then after connected, if you were using AOL, if you had email, you'd hear that iconic sound. You've got mail. So
Mail, motherfucker.
You're like, somebody's emailing me. Wow.
This must be really important.
like Brett said, one phone line. And so
Right.
if that's all you had, you couldn't place a call. And so if you didn't know that somebody, in the next room was online, you'd pick up the phone and you'd hear, and so you could not use the phone. And sometimes it would disconnect the person, and all of a sudden you'd hear them yelling from the other room, like, "Hey, what happened?"
Or if you were on the internet, people couldn't get a hold of you. Like, they're trying to call your house. It's like, I couldn't get through. You're on the internet.
Remember when
Looking
rich, fancy people, they'd get a dedicated line, a dedicated phone line that was only for their computer. Those were rich kids. Yeah, they didn't have to worry about getting interrupted. So I could get into that AOL chat room and talk to people. Yep, it used to be such a joke, too. Remember, they would do talk shows that said, these people, these hookers and hoes, met each other on the internet.
Yeah,
It was
when
like you were freaked.
entering
You're
the chat
completely
had a
freaked.
different meaning.
Yep. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was so different back then. That was the late 90s, I think. So I was going to take it way back. I was going to go back to like the 50s. The times before us, yes, we're not that old. But even then, relatively, as only, 70, 80 years ago that we're talking about. So much has changed. Everybody used to smoke indoors. If you watch any movies from today that's taking place in the 60s or earlier, it's mandatory that you smoke all the time, no matter where you are. Every doctor, every lawyer, every cop, especially the cops, they all got, I don't know how people, you had to have cigarettes and you had to chain smoke them all the time. Our grandparents were like that. Hell, our parents were like that for a while.
Permeates the whole cabin.
Appreciate everyone else's right to breathe clean air and whatever. It's a habit.
I kind of feel like I'm in the bottom of a coal mine, like I'm an old coal worker with all the smoke a lot of times.
Yeah, we just didn't know it. Smoking an ashtray, motherfucker.
That's not the way you're supposed to smell?
That's not normal. Well, I got holes in my shirt.
are you done
Because I got
In the back
caught all
seat.
them embers right in the back of the Firebird.
Oh, got a hole. We're thinking ants and shit were eating through our shirts. It was actually just cigarette burning up.
So, but even way back though, 50s and 60s stuff, there was only 3 channels on the TV. People didn't know that was a thing. Like, how can't even fathom that was a thing.
Yeah, now everybody
Family
has
road
these
trips.
3 streaming services.
Yeah, easy, just right at their fingertips. Family road trips, 0 seatbelts, just vibes and loose metal dashboards. That's why I joked about being a remote control, because going back to those TVs, if you wanted to change that channel, it was like, hey, kid, get up and change the channel. Put it on number 2. I'm done with channel number 3. And then at the, I was just telling one of the kiddos that at night, all the TV channels went off. Even when we were kids, they would just sign off and play some, the national anthem and some shit, and it would just go off.
Hey, but remember this, the progression of knowing what used to be on TV. You had the TV guide that you had to get, which was a magazine. You had to get.
A book.
And you looked at it and you look it up and you're like, oh, it's a rerun. No, it's a rerun.
It says, hey, there's a new episode. And then right next to it, it says rerun.
And then later on, after the TV guide, the next upgrade was the TV guide channel, the preview channel, where it just scrolled.
Do you need cash to pay off debt, buy a home, start a business, pay college?
And you're like, I miss it. I can wait for it to come back. Yeah, Al's coming on. Hey, it's going to be on in a little bit, Bing, and you saw what was going on. Yeah, and then now, of course, it's just at your fingertips all the time. I remember you don't have to see it live. It's recorded somewhere.
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
In the TV guide days, looking at the TV guide and like, yeah, that episode's on tonight at 7:00. And you go to the channel. Like, no, that's not on. No. You're looking at yesterday's episode.
Idiot.
Come on, idiots.
That's last week's TV guide.
We didn't get the new TV guide with the newspaper?
Can you imagine when they were in their business meetings, they're like, hey, should we upgrade our systems, move on? No. You're always going to need a TV guide. Get out of here. You're fired.
Yeah.
What's the TV guide?
Yeah.
Right.
And then joking about the smoking those stuff. Remember the cars and the planes? Ashtrays were in everything. I don't know why. Even up until recent, it seemed like they still built ashtrays. So like, who the hell's smoking at 50,000 feet? Nobody, Or cars in the back seat, the front seat. They all had the little things you just opened up for smoking. I'm like, man, people just didn't give a shit. There's no way all them ashes were getting in there. Yeah. All that ended up in there was overstuffing as much trash as you could in these things, gum and gum wrappers and other shit.
Oh, it's funny also how society's adapted. Everybody had cigarette lighters in the car. You pushed it in and it popped out a hot piece of coal. You're like, yeah. And of course, as kids, you try to melt some stuff. You're like, oh god. Let's put a circle in the dash. That smell.
Look how hot this thing is.
Burning little plastic, like, oh. But so cigarette lighters were in everything, everywhere. And it's funny how that incorporated, even after society changed. A lot of people, you don't need a cigarette lighter anymore to light a cigarette or anything of that nature. But a lot of cars still have cigarette lighters because that is the 12-volt adapter everybody uses for certain power and things of that nature. There's no more cigarette lighter, but you still have the plug-in, the circle plug-in. But new cars now, they actually don't have that. They just have the USB-C, B's, and A's and things of that nature. So funny how you adapt for that for so long, and now certain products that aren't meant for cigarettes you can't use, like inverters. Yeah, how things change.
Yeah. Speaking of cars that nobody really gave a shit about, how about parents just leaving their kids in the car while they went shopping? It was a daycare. Nobody cared about that. Crack that window. Hey, this is South Florida. It's 140 degrees in the car, 110.
Can't do that?
Be fine, right? Hey, you just getting that way back in the station wagon. I'll crack a window, and if you leave this car, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, crack the way back window. I'll be fine.
You can get some chiclets while you're in there. Thanks.
You guys remember when we were kids? It was like 1993. Hurricane Andrew had just come through. We're living in South Florida, and we were with one of our friends who we've mentioned in a previous episode. Timber! And his dad was going down to Miami to see about some potential
1990 construction. I remember that.
We were in the back of his old Mercury. I think it was a Mercury. And he was inside, I think, for like 2 or 3 hours. And we were sitting outside, and we'd taken our shirts off, and we were like, we're going to prove a point. We're going to show him how soaking wet we are from sweat.
Yeah, we rolled up the
bad for leaving us here. And we're in the mindset of like, let's make this guy feel bad, not knowing how close we probably were to death.
Or how heartless he was.
And I think he came back and like he bought us like a bottle of the mixed peanut butter and jelly bottle and was like, here you go, eat up.
If his story I remember being in that fucking van that we were in too, sweating our ass off, and we were dying. We were so hungry. I'm like, oh my God, I could eat the ass end out of a dead rhinoceros right now. And there's like 4 of us, and we're just sitting there sweating our ass off. We're so hungry. Like, surely he's had us all day. He'll buy us some food. We went through McDonald's, and he got us each a 99-cent small ice cream cone and said, here you go. And I hated eating the ice cream cone. Well, I ate the shit out of the cone that day because I was so fucking hungry. Because he was like, all right, fed 4 kids. $4. Bitch.
Bet you he wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
I don't think there was.
Probably didn't even have seatbelt.
Yeah. This van looked like a brown version of the A-Team B.A. Baracus van with a bunch of tools in it sliding around with buckets for seats.
Well, that's another thing. How we talked about safety in cars and things like that. Seatbelts purely were kind of a luxury item as they rolled them
Optional.
out, and they were just lap belts. They were just from
Mhm.
here across your lap.
Everybody was so anti-seatbelt too.
Yeah, they were like, "I'm not wearing a seatbelt. I want to be thrown clear of the accident."
I mean,
man.
I don't want to be trapped. I
Yeah,
need to
no.
be thrown
What do I can't get
away
this thing
from
off?
the vehicle.
But those lap belts, they were dangerous because you got in an accident. It would just fold you in half, instant paraplegic. You know,
Yeah.
so then they came up with eventually the shoulder harness, but they still weren't mandatory to wear it. They were just recommended, hey, things of that nature. So a lot of people did not wear their seatbelts. You know,
Nope, it was considered uncool if you were wearing your seatbelt.
Those same people, if they survived, as technology continued to improve and how they made it now mandatory, or the beeper wouldn't go off, they would figure out a way around. They'd like get an extra seatbelt and plug it in there. Like, still don't wear my seatbelt.
they plug it behind them. But remember some of the cars, like I want to say it was like Honda Prelude or something. They had the seatbelts when you shut the door and they go, zzz, and they fold it.
Yeah. I was just trying to open my door for something.
Yeah,
that was advanced technology
design
back then.
Yeah, crazy design.
That's funny.
Yeah, but things definitely changed in the I guess the motor vehicle safety. Drinking and driving, that used to be a good old time.
Yeah, what time did you get off work?
You can't do that now?
Yeah, people's mindset was, hey, if I've worked hard, I think fellas should have a couple beers, after a hard day's work.
While I'm
Just
driving.
driving home, no relax, and that was the mindset of so many people.
Put ice in this console. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah, look at here.
It's made for, right?
I got me a secret cooler down in here. Oh, man, look at that. Road soda. Bloop. And some people just drink and drive. And it took a long time. It took a culture change to people actually say, you know what? That might be kind of bad.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have a drunk guy driving this 400 horsepower, 2-ton missile down the street while he's shit-faced. Yeah, more about that next year.
I mean, back in the day, the cops, the enforcement of it was just a slap on the wrist. Like,
they were drunk too.
Doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna dump it out, and they'd be upset about that. Like, no, dump out my beer.
Yeah,
just open that one. Now I gotta find the other one.
Golly,
I'm gonna have to drink this bottle. I don't want to be pissing every 5 minutes.
Damn it, Billy! I just bought that thing, man.
But yeah, we've come a long way when it comes to that. No, drinking driving's bad. Don't do it.
Yeah, how about the way things have changed from interiors? If you've ever gone to not just grandma's because they got the floral and the vinyl wrapped couch and stuff, but man, when we were growing up, the 70s and 80s, and a lot of houses into the 90s that still hadn't remodeled, or people were like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Green carpets, green appliances, everything was wood paneling. It was trying to look like a 1970s, 60s gas station.
The Brady Bunch house. Pretty much.
That's what it was right there. Yeah.
Everything had linoleum. Am I saying that right? Linoleum.
Real, that counts.
And it was slippery when it got wet. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it was. Wait, what are you talking about? Oh.
You don't remember at all?
Yeah, I think because I picture linoleum floors that usually had they weren't exactly the most levelest thing in the houses they were in. It was kind of like rolling hill.
Because it's probably in a trailer.
Yeah. Well, nothing wrong with that.
No. Some of the best. No.
Yeah, them refrigerators and all the appliances were weird colored, weird shit. The carpets were like that lush, deep cut, whatever the hell call it. Shag. Yeah, shag carpet shit, like Austin Powers looking stuff. Yeah, it was 70s disco era. Everything was brown, orange, yellow, dark green.
And remember, the carpet actually used to go up the walls, too. Halfway up the wall, people would have carpet, halfway with a crown molding or whatever. Like, oh, man, don't forget to get that carpet up the wall. Like, what the hell is going on?
Popcorn ceilings and wallpaper.
Ooh, wallpaper's actually making a comeback. It is.
What the hell?
Weird. You go into a house, tear it all down, then cyclical. 10 years later, you're like, I'm going to put some wallpaper back up.
Yeah, just got to wet the back side of it here.
Paste that on her.
Glue.
Trying to line it up right. Technology's got to get a little bit better, right?
Yeah. And speaking of technology,
how about cameras back in the day?
Yeah,
it was taking photos.
Disposable cameras.
Yeah.
Film. How to get it.
Even going back before disposable cameras. We were talking earlier about you had to have a special device for the flash, and you only had a certain amount of flashes.
remember the
So-
camera was like, it was. I picture it being. Remember this little rectangular, small little. And it was like, you had the flashes.
Had
sitting
like,
on top of it. And then you'd be like, oh, I think I'm good to go. Click. Oh, it didn't flash. Oh, I wasted a flash.
no.
Oh, shit, I'm out of flashes.
And then you upgraded to disposable cameras. And you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Like you buy this camera, it comes in this box. You open the box and it's in a wrapper. Open the wrapper and you got this camera to go. And it's got like 24 photos. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Remember, you had to
But
get it
then
ready.
you're
You're like, oh, hold on.
Spin the wheel, spin the wheel.
On the first
Hit
one.
the thing. I forgot to hit the button to turn the flash on. Had to
You
prime
gotta
it.
be careful.
Yeah,
You
little.
Then you hit the button.
powering on.
You just
You
took a
could
picture.
touch-
You just wasted one
Cut
of mine.
yourself on that thing. And then friend, someone you thought was a friend would grab your camera and like take a quick picture. Like, God damn it! Now I only got 20 pictures left. And
Grab
then
camera, stick it in their pants.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I always wind up like getting
See
anxious.
how good
and
that
thinking,
dick
like,
pic is in 6 to 8 weeks.
I always get anxious. I'm like, I only got 20 pictures left. Like, I don't want to take a picture. I don't want to waste it. And then you wind up getting back from the
Not
trip. You
taking
still got
any
10
pictures.
pictures left. Like, damn it! I
Taking
didn't take enough pictures.
I guess I'm taking 10 dick pics. God damn it,
And
Brett's
then-
talking about
Yeah,
dicks again.
and people do it now as retro, like go get pictures printed out. But that used to be the only way you got pictures. Like, man, I can't wait till I get to see them. You'd have to
Yeah.
drop them off in the store, and they'd have a luxury, like, hey, 24-hour development. You're like, wow. Got my picture.
Or, remember when they got 1 hour photo?
1 hour.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
Pay a little
1
extra for
hour.
that.
And then you had to be like, oh, God, I hope I got some good photos. And everybody's going to see your photos too, by the way.
Yeah.
So whatever you took pictures of, they're
Give
going to
me a
develop
copy of
them.
that.
How spoiled are we now? Like, you take a picture on your phone. You got a camera with you everywhere you go. You take a picture, of a group of people, and you're like, you're blinking. We got to take another one, right? You didn't know that back then, right?
Oh, hell.
You didn't find that out till like a month later. You're like, damn it, Barbara, you
Now
remember
they're
that
like,
picture
hey,
we took?
hold
You're
on.
blinking in that damn thing.
And then if
can
you
we-
weren't blinking, somehow you all had red devil eyes in it.
That's true.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, that was a good time back then.
Now you can use AI and just make it all up.
Well, it's not even real.
Yeah.
Make me a picture.
Don't even have to be there.
Chat GPT.
Put me in Cancun. Good to go.
So we've talked a little bit about the internet stuff. We talked about 50s, 60s, some 70s stuff. What's some 80s, 90s things?
Oh, I
besides,
got one.
Old Robert trying to kill us in his murder van.
How about a 5.5-inch floppy disk?
Disc.
Disk, I said disk.
Said
I've heard that one.
Half-inch
I just-
floppy.
I remember being in middle school, elementary school, and they took us to computer class. You didn't know what a computer was. And you'd walk in there, and it'd be like an IBM. And they'd take the big old floppy disk out and put it in there. And you'd run through a little basic.
Put that floppy back.
Who got their floppy out without asking?
Wait, that's not
I
a floppy
broke-
disk.
I broke my floppy.
His floppy disk had foreskin.
See, that
Said
floppy
it was okay to
popped
put it
on.
in a slot.
That's not going to
So
go on there.
We'd have computers, back then, and there were thousands of dollars a piece. You could barely do anything with them. Couldn't do it. Was all DOS programs, things of that nature.
Hack the network,
Then-
play Prince of Persia.
Right, and there was no internet back then. It was just standalone systems. You
It's
played
closed circuit. Yeah.
Yeah, you could play maybe a game in a small room with people, but it was very basic. That was computers back then. Then you progress, 10 years later, and everybody's getting computers, and the internet's starting to come online. Apple went to nothing, and then it became what everybody knows today, Mac and things of that nature. And the computers we carry around every day are more powerful than anything we've had probably 10 years ago. It's just amazing.
The phones we carry around these days? Oh, yeah. They're
Super-
way more advanced than they're supercomputers. And it's crazy. Take it for granted. There's so much you can do with it. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I heard somebody
Yes.
talking about how they used to take photos probably about 15 years ago. They had the old Nikon cameras, camera digital and everything. They had the big old lenses and everything on it. And the individual's talking about, I used to take pictures. I still have the camera, but the camera's not as good as the camera on my phone.
Yeah.
So what's the point? I still like to get equipment out and feel like a photographer, but reality, anybody can whip out their phone now, and it's better. Nanny boo boo.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from back to 1940s, 50s, where you want to make a phone call, you picked it up and you told somebody who you wanted to talk to, and there was somebody waiting to connect your call, to getting fast forward to rotary phones, which a lot of kids nowadays wouldn't even know what you're talking about.
What's
or if
a
they saw
rotary
it,
phone?
wouldn't know how to place a phone call. Most houses, I don't even think, have a landline anymore. I'm pretty sure everyone's just switched to cell phones.
I would say a lot of
People
people
don't even know
you
what
say
the hell landline is.
Yeah, they're like, "What's a
What is a
landline?" You
landline?
talking like, "I need to get on land. Is there a shark around or something?" What?
Damn.
I remember So you were talking about earlier,
Let's
Christopher, about
rerun.
when the iPhone first came out. Like, what did Steve Jobs like? How was it introduced again?
Yeah, he would say, no, it's a phone, it's an iPod, and then there was another thing. He's like, it's three things, and they were like, what? It's a phone, it's an iPod, and they're like, what? It's all in one, and that's when he showed the phone. Right? He showed the phone, and then he got up close, and then he touched it, and he started scrolling on. Everybody lost their mind, like he's touching the screen and making it work.
Oh
It's
my
amazing. It's a
God.
touch screen. That's crazy. And now people touch every screen because they think everything should be a touch screen. It's just not the way it used to be, but
This isn't
where
touchscreen.
it is now. Yeah, you're doing it right. Just gonna touch it right there.
Yeah. Well, Steve Jobs. I remember when that came out too, and then they started going through the next years of iterations while he was still around, and they were toying with the idea of cameras, video cameras, and he was kind of against it. We don't need that. No, the phones don't need to have that kind of stuff. That's not what it's for. And then, can you imagine not having cameras and stuff on your phones now? It's one of the, if not the most used thing about a phone. Selfie, and a forward-facing camera, and
That's
the
how
definition,
we
the
capture all the
quality of
dumb
it.
stuff on the internet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Selfie wasn't a thing until all of a sudden it was.
Welcome Distraction appreciates all dumb videos we can use for our content. And don't forget to check out the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yeah, they are welcome distractions. And like, follow, and subscribe on all the things. Yeah.
And we want to hear from you. Any stories that you might have of things that you've experienced and items that have changed so quickly over the short amount of time. I mean, just the iPhone itself, from the point that it came out to where it's at right now, has just grown so much. I mean, I remember texting on the iPhone when it first came out wasn't the easiest. I mean, browsing the internet, it wasn't made for that, right? I remember the first time I got my hands on, I think it was like a second generation iPhone, and I'm playing with it. I'm trying to go to a website, and like, this is not gonna work. This is hard. Like, I don't
Not
wanna,
compatible.
yeah. But now it's almost like people
Built
think
for it.
iPhone first, then computer. So
Yeah.
that's how much things have changed.
Yeah, everything is mostly app version or mobile friendly version, and then desktop second now. Mostly what you see on your phone works 100%. Now you go to a computer, your TV, and that app or that version doesn't work as good. You're right. Everything's built for the phone because everybody's got one. Even your kids. I think mine got.
Can you
theirs in middle
imagine?
school.
Can you imagine trying to go somewhere with directions right now without having your built-in GPS on your
Yeah.
phone? That's gone through a few different iterations. You know, now
we got our
you can't
TomTom.
imagine your Garmin. You can't imagine driving from Indiana to Florida with just a map. You know, Rand McNally map that you might hopefully have the latest version of and go through
own
while you're
map.
trying to drive. You
It's an
know,
own-
and then that changed to eventually when you got the interwebs and the World Wide Web and printing out stuff, you'd print out the old MapQuest, which was
Yeah.
printable directions that was going to tell you a turn by turn of how you should go and where you should go. So now
You
you're
print
not
out
having to
20
think
pages.
about how you do it. It told you what to do. And then all of a sudden you started getting these standalone GPS and Garmin's, which were not cheap. And those told you what to do in mostly real time. And then it became a game. Everywhere you went, you're like, it says you can get there in 3 hours and 45 minutes. Manchester. I'm going to get there in 2 hours and 53 minutes.
Challenge
And then
accepted.
everything got better and better, and then all of a sudden that became an app in your phone, and that got absorbed. So now you do that. I mean, Lyft, Uber, all that stuff. It's businesses are designed around the technology that we have with that. You just can't imagine. And you think now, even us, you know, we grew up through all that stuff. But if somebody told me to go from point A to point B, I always have my directions on because I don't know how to get there. Can't even imagine how I went so far distances.
Yeah.
I know. I got lost all the fucking time.
Yeah, I think I know like 3 phone numbers in my phone. I only know the names. You know, I remember my childhood phone number, a couple, family members, and that's about it. Otherwise, I don't know you.
I don't know your phone number.
All right, what else we got besides technology?
Well, wait a minute. I want to put things in perspective real quick. Back in the 80s, if you saw someone that had a cell phone or a phone in their car, you were like, holy crap, that is amazing. Like, you never see anything like
They
it.
are
Nowadays,
so
you can
rich.
go on your phone and buy a car.
That's
And
right.
now it's just a difference of like 40
Have
years
it
ago.
delivered.
That's crazy.
Now, if Carvana wants to donate a car for us and show that process, we can do that and take sports cars.
Let that happen.
Well, what about
Let's
satellite
see.
radio? Satellite radio used to be a standalone product that you had to install separately when it
That's
first came
right.
out. Now I hear they're not even putting satellite radio in cars.
Yeah,
You are
now
correct.
it's going past it now. My wife's car, it was decided because of the customer feedback that they're not offering the option in some of the newer Hondas for satellite radio to even be a thing because
Why
it's
do
just streamed from your phone.
It's built into your phone.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah. It's just literally another input as well, another app.
I will say that the Sirius XM satellite app on your phone blows.
I don't like it.
Sucks.
Well,
It's terrible.
and
It's
that's-
not user friendly. It's garbage.
Yeah, I agree. In that same regard, satellite, or you talk about TVs, funny, you talk about remotes. Now we're talking about everybody used to have DirecTV. It was as common as AOL and things of that nature. Satellites are obsolete. Everything is direct streaming. So you can still have DirecTV, but usually now most people I think have converted to the streaming service as well. So I still have a satellite on my house and it's nothing but a roof ornament. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I do too because I had DirecTV, and DirecTV also sucks. Yeah, terrible.
does.
They didn't adjust to the technology, the time, the age. I think they got left behind. They went the way of Blockbuster.
That's what I was
They're
about to
almost
say.
obsolete.
Twins. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be talking about Blockbuster Netflix instead of Netflix Buster.
Should have done it. Should have
So
done
kind of getting away from technology, but still on it. You can't get away from technology. It's everywhere. We mentioned it kind of briefly earlier. We were talking about TV guides, but newspapers. Who all still buys a newspaper? Like I know they make them,
Dead.
Old people.
but everybody relies on their phone.
People who
with their news.
Mhm.
refuse to change to still buy a newspaper.
Yellow pages.
Yeah. They like getting their hands dirty as shit still, Phone books, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be
Yellow
like, I
pages.
like the feel of the smell of it, Well, the truth of it is it's become obsolete. If
Yeah,
you really
by the
want to
time
read
you
the
got it,
newspaper, use
it's
your
outdated.
iPad. Use your iPad your son bought you.
Yeah, whatever's in the newspaper, unless it's like an opinion ad or something like that, then it's already outdated or there's later, information available.
Right. TV Guide used to be in the newspaper.
Yeah. I'm surprised they even still make newspapers. Just like Yellow Pages. Nobody needs them. They went away.
It's going away. Times they are changing.
I mean, there are things now that a year from now are going to be obsolete because of how quickly AI is growing. And we don't have to get off.
I want to know when we're going to have flying cars.
Check out the other episode where we talked about it.
Damn it. Back to the Future was wrong.
Pretty sure I said exactly that in the episode.
Of course you did, Twin.
Okay, guys. I am going to go through a decade wrap-up real quick. I'm going to go through some highlights from the 50s through the 2010s. Ready? I'm going to rapid fire these. Some apply, some don't apply. Some we've already talked about, but we're going to go through them. So starting with the fees. When every dad smoked indoors and doctors were like, yep, totally fine. 3 TV channels. Kids drank from random water hoses and somehow developed iron stomachs. Family road trips with seatbelts or just vibes and loose metal dashboards. Neighborhood discipline where your mom or their mom could easily be a parole officer and it didn't matter because they were all in charge. The 60s where parents just let their kids wander miles away with no clue where they were. We did that in the 80s too, though. Ashtrays, yeah, mentioned that. They're in everything. TV antennas, it required an Olympic level adjustment just to get the evening news, and probably tomorrow it wasn't going to work again. Kids learning world history from one dusty textbook written by a guy who had very strong opinions. Concert tickets were like $4. You could probably go to Woodstock, Love, Peace, hippies, and all that shit. And that transitioned right into the 70s, where everything was wood paneled, and because houses wanted to be station wagons too, by the way. Parents left their kids while they went shopping. We talked about that. Fashion that looked like a dare. Bell-bottoms, giant collars, and mustaches with authority. Kitchen appliances, the color of avocado, because why not, right? Ease. Everything was loud, neon, and aggressively analog, because that's all it was back then.
Big
Analog.
hair.
Yeah. You had to rewind VHS tapes because it looked like it was part of the movie experience. Arcade games costing just a quarter, which meant if you had $5 in change, you were basically the Jeff Bezos of the time. Recording songs off the radio, including the DJ talking over the intro like a villain. One family phone located in the loudest room of the house for maximum embarrassment. Yeah, you had to fight to the death of that. You had to call dibs or you were ass out, and you would get a busy signal if you called somewhere, and then there was no star 69 at the time, which meant you could call somebody back just in case you missed a phone call when you got home after being out all day. The 90s were peak childhood before the internet ruined the mystery. That's when Unsolved Mysteries was around and scared the living shit out of everybody before bed,
That's right.
right before they were going to get murdered. Dial-up internet sounded like two robots fighting in a blender, calling someone and praying their parents didn't answer because you didn't know how to talk to an authoritative figure like a grown-up. not like everybody's best friend. You rented a movie on Friday nights, but you usually discovered that every good one was already gone, and then you wasted 2 hours of your life getting nothing but a shitty movie and into an argument. You blew into Nintendo cartridges like an amateur electronics engineer because, I don't know, that's just the way it was. And then you would actually get lost driving because GPS was just hope and vibes. Skipping all the way to the 2010s, you'd take 38 photos of your food because you wanted to eat it like you're about to be an influencer.
Weirdo.
Streaming services, multiplying chooses movie requires a committee meeting, group chats that never stop, mostly filled with memes and zero useful information. That's still true today. Phones used to die by 2 p.m. because despite doing nothing but checking notifications, the battery sucked and you killed them. Everyone becoming a content creator, like the Kemp Brothers, like your uncle also discovering Facebook Live. That's the Decor wrap-up from this episode of the Welcome to Distraction with the Kemp Brothers, and hope that all made sense.
Hey, Brett. I appreciate you breaking it down for us. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's just a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a lot.
Well,
It's a lot of changes.
we went over a lot in a short period of time, huh? Yeah, you see what I did there?
Just like the chain. I see what
Wow.
you did there. Silly
Did it.
motherfucker.
Well, we appreciate you all joining us today. And remember to like and subscribe. We're the Kemp Brothers. I'm Nick.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Brett.
We'll see you next time.
Peace. Big gun.
Twins.